Hi, welcome to Shashcode. My name is Lisa Shashkova. I'm a software developer, and today we'll learn what's the difference between loc and iloc attributes in pandas collections. So loc and iloc attributes are different ways to select objects from data frame or series object. The main difference is that loc is based on label and iloc is based on integer position of some objects we are trying to get from our data frame. The best way to learn the difference is, of course, to look into some example. So here we'll be working with a very small and nice data frame. It's the top happiest countries in the world. Every year there is a research when scientists is trying to find the happiest country in the world, the happiest people in the world. And of course, here is the latest research. Here we can see the happiest country is Finland, and here are top 10 countries from this research. So let's just execute our GPRSL, and here we can see that the happiest country is Finland. Then go some other countries. There are pretty many countries from Europe, and here are some information about these countries. So their regional education, letter score, this exact value which identifies the level of the happiness, and also some other parameters like social support and a healthy life expectancy. There are pretty many other of them, but today we'll be looking into just several of them, just to make it simple, because today we are learning to get information from data frame, and it's easier to learn on a smaller data set. Okay, so usually everybody knows basic indexing. So when you access your data, exactly like you do it in standard Python collections like list or dictionary. For example, if you want to get this column, letter score, you just access it with square braces. Let's execute it. And yeah, here is the series object which we get as a result, and here is the list of countries and the values which are stored in this column. We can see it's exactly the same, and the same works with the series object. So again, we can execute it, and we can see that the value for Iceland is this number. This is exactly what we wanted to get. Everybody knows about it, but there is more interesting way to get information from data frame. For example, if you don't want to create this intermediate variable series object, and you just want to get, for example, value for healthy life expectancy in Switzerland, here you can use this loc attribute. What it means? That means that you can pass first of all the label in your index in the first dimension, and then the column name of your in the second dimension of your data frame, and it will return some number. Let's see, we just quickly go up and we can check. Yeah, that's in Switzerland, the half-life expectancy is exactly the same, this number. So that is totally correct. And again, we didn't create this temporary object like series object. We can quickly get necessary value right from our data frame. As we already know, the difference between loc and iloc is that loc is label based and iloc is index based. So the iloc is very similar. The only difference is that we are passing not names of our labels but indexes. here we know that Switzerland is number has index 2. This starts from 0, exactly like in standard Python collections, and the index of healthy life expectancy is 3. So we pass these numbers, and here's the result, exactly the same number. And actually, that's it. Here can be as many indexes as there are dimensions in your data frame. Here we're looking into a pretty simple example where we have only 2 dimensions, so it's just a standard table in our data frame. But of course, there are much more interesting, much more complicated examples of working with loc and iloc attributes. For example, you can select not only values not by one label, but by list of labels. For example, let's check the same value, healthy life expectancy, but not only for Switzerland, but also for Switzerland, Iceland, and Austria. Let's execute that cell, and yeah, we can see. So here we passed 3 indexes, and data frames returned as value for each of values which we have. And it's a series object, and we can see it. Exactly the same works for iloc, but we are passing here indexes of our countries, which we have in our data frame. Also, in addition to a list of values, we can request a range of values. So here again, exactly like in other standard Python collections. So we asked everything from Finland to Netherlands, and it returned a value. The equivalent of this expression with iloc will be from 0 till 5. Return as top 5 countries from our data frame, and return as 2 columns, letter score and social support, and this is exactly what data frame returns us as a result. And even more complicated and interesting thing is that you can pass a lambda expression right into your data frame, but we'll discuss it a bit later. After that, you can select data by Boolean index. So you can write expression like this. So select all the countries where social support is more than this value, 0.95. And data frame returns as a series object which contains true or false values. And after that, we can pass this series object to our loc function, loc attribute, and it will select countries which has true value here in this series object, and will show them social support value for them. Of course, we can select any other column here, or again a list of columns or range of columns, but it is important here. The most important thing here is that you can pass more complicated expression here. Of course, you can combine different expressions here, and of course, for example, you want to select countries where social support is more than this number, and at the same time healthy life expectancy is more than 72. But data frame doesn't allow us to do so, because we can't apply this AND word to our series object. In this case, we need to use not and or not words. We need to use special symbols like ampersand or tilde or other symbols to apply logical operation to two different series objects. Because as you remember, here is the series object, here is another series object, and you want to combine them into another series object. So you should remember about it when you work with more complicated data. We might expect that the same should work with iloc attribute, but it doesn't work. If we try to execute the same value, we'll see that we get exception here. The problem here is that we can't pass series object to iloc. And how we can handle this situation? That's pretty simple. We can just wrap it with the list, so convert our series object into a list object and then pass it to our iloc function. And after that, we can see it works exactly how we expected, how it worked in the previous example when we executed it with loc. So, complicated logical operations, more complicated expressions for selecting values from your data frame, they are possible to execute, but you should remember two things. First of all, when you try to combine a logical operation with series object, you should use symbols, special symbols for logical operations. And if you want to apply some value to iloc attribute, you need to convert it, your series object, into a collection, for example, into a list. Cool. In fact, you can build even more complicated values because you can pass a lambda expression right into your loc attribute. So here, in fact, we can define again lambda. We can convert this previous expression which we used, which returned true or false values, our filter, into lambda expression. And again, we can execute it and everything is fine. It returned us just values from other data frame which satisfy the following expression. And of course, this expression can be much more complicated. You can write any expression with boolean returning value you want, and it will return you the value you want to get from here. That's actually it. These are the most important differences between loc and iloc. I just want to mention two additional hints when you work with data frames. The first one is about working with data when there are some indexes which are integer numbers. In this case, when you work with loc, there is no need to convert these numbers into strings because it's a label. You can just directly access it as a number. So exactly like, for example, here in iloc, you write just numbers, indexes of your columns or rows. With loc, you can also use just a number because you can see here are the numbers which are indexes for rows in your data frame. And another hint is how to combine, for example, loc and iloc into the same expression. There is a very useful function, getLoc. It is a function of the columns of our data frame. If you don't want to type, for example, the label of your column, which can be really big in some cases, really long string, and it's really easy to put a mistake into this name, you can just get the number of your column by its name, and after that you can just apply this number, pass this number to iloc attribute, and that's it. So you can just once define some variable which will be result of this value and use it in many other expressions in all the following cells, for example, in your Jupyter notebook, which you are going to use when you're writing your code. So that's actually it. I hope this example was really helpful for you. The main difference between loc and iloc is that loc is based on label and iloc is based on integer position, on integer index of the value you are trying to get from your data frame or from your series. I hope this video will be helpful for you, and after that you will work with your data frames like a professional data scientist. Thank you very much for your attention today, and see you in the next video. Bye!